Welcome to Buckets from the Tommy John Holmes Studios. My name's Matt Moore. I'm joined by Bryan Fonseca. You can find him on Twitter and the Action Network app at Bryan Fonseca NY. We're going to talk about the Western Conference odds in what is a fierce, competitive, and tense Western Conference where every game matters. Basically the opposite of the Eastern Conference. We're going to talk about that tonight. We'll give you a best bet for the Friday slate from me, and we'll tell you the leans from Bryan, because as we record this on Thursday night at 11:28 p.m. Eastern, no one has props up, and there's only 3 games, 2 of which are largely unbettable. So we'll go through that, but we will have best bets for you because I don't know if you know this, but that's what we do on this show. All right, Bryan, let's start here. Western Conference odds at DraftKings currently on, as we sit here on December 19th. The Oklahoma City Thunder are plus 190. The Mavericks are plus 550. The Nuggets are plus 650. The Warriors, who on NBA BetStream I just saw get waxed by 50 points, are plus 800. Suns are plus 1100. They're getting beat by the Pacers right now. The Wolves getting trounced by the Knicks are plus 1200. The Memphis Grizzlies are 14-1. The Lakers are 22-1. The Rockets are 22-1. The Clippers are 28-1. The Kings are 45-1. And Brandon Anderson, San Antonio Spurs are 180-1. I want to start here. I think I came upon this strategy last year, and I talked about it on Buckets, and I'll continue to talk about it this year. Mm-hmm. I think the best way to bet conference futures is to basically assume one core tenet. We are not going to have the 2 teams that we think are most likely to meet in the finals are not the teams that we will see get there. Last year, we were like, Celtics Nuggets, collision course. What could possibly get in the way? And then it was not that. It was Celtics Mavericks, right? So I think that there's a little bit of a lean towards taking Celtics and Western Conference X because of how weak the Eastern Conference is. Because Boston's got to get past Cleveland, which hasn't shown they can curtail its 3-point attempts. The Knicks, which haven't showed that they can contain a head cold. The Magic, who can't keep up with them in scoring. And then, maybe some random team pops out of nowhere and is a pain. But that's pretty much it in the Eastern Conference.
The NBA Cup champion Milwaukee Bucks.
The NBA champion NBA Cup champion Milwaukee Bucks, excuse me. Yes. So, maybe that's it. It's just Giannis gets downhill and the threes don't fall for Boston, and that's how it goes. Entirely possible. The Bucks just took out a very Celtics-like team in OKC. By having them miss wide open shots in an empty gym in Vegas in December. So it's really the same as beating the Celtics. So I think there's probably value in taking Celtics and whatever Western Conference team you think is not OKC. Because I'll say this, after right now, the value on OKC is that after the Cup, everybody's too young, not physical enough, can't handle the matchup, don't have the shooters, not made of the right stuff, Jalen Williams is a choker, blah, 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 blah. All these little things going on right now. So plus 190 might honestly be the lowest price that you're going to get. Because by January, I'm going to bet that this is I really do. I will bet that this is close. This is pretty close to 125 or sub by the end of January. OKC is just going to keep they turned around off of the Cup and just absolutely obliterated Orlando. They took care of business. They're likely to win again tomorrow night on back-to-back versus Miami. By the way, the scheduling of this, giving the Thunder a back-to-back off the Cup is some bullshit.
In Florida, by the way.
In Florida. Miami, a South Beach flu back-to-back. Jesus, right. Guys. For a bunch of 22-year-olds. So with the Western Conference, my thought is to take whatever you think is a long shot. I think that if you want to bet OKC and Eastern Conference X, this is a really good time to do that. I may wind up doing that if I can find an East team I can actually believe in. But we'll start kind of there. Do you think that this is a time to buy OKC, or is this a time to find a different type of matchup?
I have no interest in betting OKC right now just because of the number.
But do you think it's gonna get longer?
I think if it does, I probably might be willing to play it later, depending on how things look. But I want to give credit to the rest of the Western Conference here, because like there are two teams as we're looking at the odds that I'm interested in for futures right now. And as you know, I like to look at who are the front offices I could bet on being aggressive. Where last year was Dallas. This year again could be Dallas. And Dallas is one of those teams for me, although I kind of wish that they were a little bit better than plus 600. Second in the Western Conference right now in terms of odds. Denver's third. But Dallas is a front office I can get behind. They're a formula I can get behind in terms of how they can go shopping between now and the trade deadline. Like, they're not at the second apron. They have contracts, or at least a contract that they almost certainly should move in Maxi Kleber and see what you can get there at 11 million this year and 11 million next year. Like a tanking team or somebody who just has no regard for, 11 million, just taking it in. Like, I think that's something you can work with if you're Dallas. And you also have some other contracts to a lesser degree. Quentin Grimes at 4.2. I don't know if they're going to re-sign him, so they could trade him. And there's
I want to stop you right there.
Yeah.
I have heard that there is at least a little bit of other front offices are keeping an eye on Grimes because they are not sure that the Mavericks are going to be willing to give Grimes what he's looking for in free agency.
Yeah.
Like, there is a sense from other front offices that he might be available based off of what they think Grimes' price is. So that's a good call right there.
Yeah, like Kleber, Grimes, some sort of draft compensation. I think Omax Prosper, who was a first-round pick last year, is somebody you can throw in a deal. And is somebody who, if I'm like, not that this is a team they should trade with necessarily, but if I'm a Toronto, I'd be interested in an Omax Prosper to see like what he can be, like coming off the bench in a role where like Scotty Barnes may miss some games down the stretch. You know that Grady Dick is an actual player that you can build with. You know what I mean? Not necessarily build around, but build with. Like, I'd be interested in acquiring him in some regard. Like, there's salaries here that you can make up and get a good player in return. So Dallas is one team for me that I have circled, also because like they do have a proven formula. Like, they did what they did in the playoffs last year. There's something to that. I genuinely feel like Jason Kidd's become a better coach, which is not something I thought, because we were talking about this last year. Like, if they lose to the Clippers in the first round, he probably gets fired. And they get to the finals and he gets an extension. Like, these are the margins in the NBA. Yeah, that's one team. And then I have another one that's a little more down the line. That's surprising to me. But I mean, I could give that one out right now if you want to, or do you want to like make a point on Dallas first?
Yeah, let's talk about Dallas. So the possibility of them adding, I think, is definitely real. I think the key with them is there any way that they get worse? I think is kind of the way that I would look at Dallas. Is there any way that this number gets longer? And the answer is like if Luka misses 2 months.
Yeah.
If Luka suffers an injury and is out 2 months and all of my MVP futures are evaporated, in which case I will cry.
And he and Kyrie sat today coming out of the break.
Coming out of the break.
Not great.
I bet them on Tuesday night. I bet Dallas -4 and was like, never even crossed my mind that guys would be out after the break. I was like, okay, I get it. Guys get hurt. I talked about this today on Twitter. If you dive into the metrics on Dallas, if you look at things like shot quality, if you look at things like 4 factors, if you look at things like their lineups, if you look at things like, I always go to, what I want from a contender is I want you to be solid without glaring weaknesses. Every team's got weaknesses. Just give me like an 18th versus a 25th in something.
Yeah.
And then have your strengths be really good, have star players I can count on and believe in. And then this is actually the kind of the real thing you can't quantify. It's, do I think you have solutions to problems you'll see in the playoffs? If you face a team that plays small ball, can you match up and beat that with physicality or counter it with your own small ball? If you face a huge team that has a massive size advantage, a double big lineup, can you match up with them and be able to take advantage of that? Do you have the ability to beat guys, have a guy just dominate a game to the point where you break their defensive scheme? And the answer on all of those questions with the Dallas Mavericks is yes.
Yes.
They have all of that.
Yep.
Lively is still young enough and lithe enough for him to be able to play rim runner 5 and stretch and switch capably. So if you need to play small ball, you can do that. They have Kleba, and one of the reasons that they still have Maxey, on top of the fact that he's friends with a lot of people in the organization, is that Kleba is a legitimate small ball switch 5 weapon. There are matchups where like Kleba will be like a plus 14, and you'll be like, wow. And the reality is like he actually contributes to that because of his ability to space the floor and switch reliably. But in most situations, most of the teams that you're going to face, Gafford and Lively will get you through. Now, do I worry about a Nuggets matchup? Absolutely. 100% I worry about a Nuggets matchup. Do I think the Mavericks would absolutely annihilate them in the 5 minutes Jokic would sit in those games? Yes, I do. At 550, it's like they're the second highest in the West. So it's really funny. I said this today that I think people were sleeping on them. And then this is a good example of, yeah, no, like the plebes are sleeping on them. But the market knows how good Dallas is. And that's why they're plus 550. I don't
six out there in the market. There's a 600.
Yeah,
Couple 600s,
I don't hate
actually.
the idea. If you do Celtics Mavericks in a repeat of a repeat finals appearance, it's 12-1. That doesn't really get me excited. That doesn't move me. I think there will be ways to bet Dallas, but I don't have the number now. Even at 6-1, that's not the number I want. So I'm gonna wait.
I think the number can get worse if they do have another. I don't know if it'll be this, for lack of a better word, explosive, but like if there's another PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford-esque trade deadline where they make fairly significant additions, and it's like at PJ Washington, I liked him coming into the draft. He is overachieved from what I thought he was going to be in Dallas so far, and the run that he's been on as of late, he's been really good, really efficient too, to the point where I'm like, I don't know if he's going to shoot. The last 10 games, it was like 46% from 3 or something along those lines. I might be messing up the numbers, but I was going through this last night because I bet him over points and points rebounds, and he hit both. This is before both Luka and Kyrie were confirmed out, and he was able to get that. But if they have another successful trade deadline like that, I could see the number worsening. But also, like, we do have to monitor Luka and Kyrie. They've missed games, like not just now, but in their careers. And then on top of that, like the Western Conference with everyone just being all jumbled up, like maybe this is a number that's not going to move too much. So I don't think people have to run and go get Dallas at like plus 600. But if I'm just projecting who is the front office that could make a move where their number loses a little bit of value, like Dallas is near the top of the list for me. And also the fact that you laid out, like their versatility is one of the things that stood out to me in the playoffs. They can beat you in different ways. They don't have to just beat you one different way. You also have Luka Doncic. Obviously that helps, but you have a cheat code at center where you could have Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford out there for 48 straight minutes if you want to. And that's something that we'll probably see in the playoffs. You mentioned Maxi Kleber being a small ball 5. And then like, I think like Najee Marshall is a real addition to their rotation, who's having a career year so far this year. Klay Thompson, I think he'll be useful in playoff series. Like that's why he's there. He's not really there to like kill it in the regular season. I expect the regular season to have its ups and downs. He's older, and I don't think they're going to rely on him as heavily as people may want. But Klay Thompson can win you a road game 5 just because he makes 6 threes. That's something that can still happen. There's a number of ways they could beat you. And then on top of that, just the front office, like understanding the window and understanding they want to win now, and having for now commitments from their top 2 stars. Yeah, I think they could potentially do something else at the trade deadline that puts them in position to potentially win the West again.
I mean, I love their formula as is. Like, I just love their formula. They're so physical. They're able to shut down the paint. Their defensive stuff still continues to like baffle me a little bit, less so in terms of the rim stuff, because I'm just like, yeah, no, I'll take the L. They really do have good rim protection. Like, I'm just willing to go ahead and accept that now. But like, and like they're doing a really good job defensively in terms of their shot distribution. They allow the 8th fewest 3-pointers in terms of rate, and the 9th lowest at the rim. Like, that's a really great profile. They are 10th best at defending at the rim and 11th best defending from 3-point range. If you shut down the rim in the paint, you're going to win a lot of games. Like that's gonna get you home. And
And,
so
and even simpler than that, like every NBA champion from the last 25 years, except for two of them, the Nuggets and the second Lakers three-peat team with Shaq and Kobe, were top 11 in offense and defense. And Dallas is that right now. I don't know where they'll be after this Clippers loss, but they are that right now. And they probably will be that for the entire season.
12th schedule adjusted, by the way. Their schedule has been moderate, I think. So yeah, like I know one more thing on this, and I'm gonna write on this next week for a piece over at SB Nation. Like Luka Doncic his usage is the lowest of his career since his rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
His touches are down by 10 a game, and his dribbles per touch are down by a full dribble. And if you're like one less dribble per touch, yeah, that's a lot. Think about how many times Luka touches the ball. All of those times, like him dribbling one fewer time is just one less second that's in his hands. He is being, and as a result, I've said for years, like, okay, if Luka's so amazing, why isn't the net rating good? Like, why don't they beat teams by more when he's on the floor? Guess what? That's happening this season. They've been plus 10.2 with him on the floor. He has a better on-court net rating than Jokic. Like, wow. that's they're beating teams better because the Mavericks are better. That's definitely true. It's the teammates, but also Luka not taking that isocentric style helps them a ton. What's the other team that you're interested in the Western Conference?
A team that I'm not. I'm a little surprised at how low this number is, but I mean, I feel like the Memphis Grizzlies are worth monitoring here.
Thank you.
Like, yeah. I can't. A plus 1,400? Really? Given, I mean, where they rank in the Western Conference pecking order here, despite their starts of the season, I mean, they're 7th right now, behind the Timberwolves, which one I don't understand at all. Behind the Suns, which that one doesn't make as much sense to me either. But like, I can hear you out if the case is, and it basically is this Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. But I mean, Memphis is really good, and they're another front office I think is worth betting on. I don't know what they're going to do with Marcus Smart. He has 20 million this year. He has 21.6 rounding next year, and that's it. That's something that you can potentially move if you want to. I don't know what you're going to get back for it, but that's a good salary to have on your books. Brandon Clark is at 12.5, although it feels like he's somebody who should be there. But Luke Kennard, he's an expiring 9.2. And Memphis has tried to be aggressive before. I think people just kind of forget about this because last year, they had the season from hell, the season that the Pelicans are having. It feels like this year. But Memphis is the team for me. Like, they've been in playoff series. They've had these experiences already, and they have a front office who actually wants to win around John Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. By the way, still one of the better trios you're going to find in the Western Conference. And in terms of just building the pieces around them, like, we haven't really seen Gigi Jackson or Vince Williams Jr., but like, those are two role players who I think can help you in a playoff series, even though they're very, very young. And like, just looking through their roster, the contracts that they do have, I already mentioned a couple of them, like, they're a move away from getting like super, super serious. I don't know what the move is. Like, I kind of sneaky think, and I still don't think this person's going to get traded, but like, if you told me they were trying to get in on Jimmy Butler, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. I just don't know how financially they make that work. You know what I mean? But I do think like there's with Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard getting to like 30 million, like there's a splashy move that they could potentially make that could actually really help them assert themselves in the West. Like, I think we should be talking about Memphis a little bit more. Also, in terms of the formula being top whatever in offense and defense, 7th in offense, 5th in defense right now. So,
would you trade Bane for Jimmy?
No.
Okay.
No.
It's got to be Jimmy is like,
I love Jimmy, but like, I'm not doing that if I'm Memphis.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. But like, I feel like that's what Miami's going to be like. Miami's going to be like, well, we want Bane. Like, they want a center.
Oh, they're gonna want I would ask for that too, by the way.
They're going to want a centerpiece. Like, they're going to want like the next guy, right? Like, to at least to pair with Bam. Like, or I guess to pair with Tyler is the way to now think about it.
Tyler and Bam and Bane.
Yeah. And I wouldn't do that.
I think Jimmy's too expensive for them to make it work, but that I feel like they can get a guy is the point.
I love Memphis's identity. I love their vibe. I think that they're more mature now. I think that it's impressive that they've been as good as they have been when Ja and Bane actually haven't shot well for the season until like the last like 5 games for Bane, and Ja's still not shooting great.
Yeah.
And Ja's making every single play that he needs to make. Jaren's been sensational. He's their leading scorer. And they have a million guys who can kill you. Like, I'm not a big depth guy in playoffs, but I am a big depth guy in terms of if you get injured, having other guys who can step up, or if you're in a bad matchup, being like, all right, we can't use this guy. Let's go to the next dude. Oh, okay. We can't play Edie here. We're going to play small ball with Brandon Clark. Oh, right. Okay. We need more spacing. We're going to play Santi Aldama.
Yep.
All right. Hey, we need more athleticism. Let's play Jalen Wells. Okay. We need more shooting. Let's space the floor with Kennard. They have all of those solutions I talked about. Memphis has like 5 different ones for them. Now, their solutions are not as good as some other teams, right? It's more like, yeah, they can probably navigate this and give themselves a chance. But at 14-1, that's a really good price. By the way, if you do what I'm suggesting, Celtics, Grizzlies, parlay at DraftKings is 29-1. It's plus 2,900. Which means that if you get to a conference finals where it is Boston versus, let's say, because actually right now I have the Celtics third. I know. But I have the Celtics third right now in power rating. Let's say it's Celtics Cavs.
Yes.
And then on the other side, it's Grizzlies versus Thunder, right?
Sure.
You'll get a pretty short price on OKC. They'll be favored by a lot, but you'll still get a relatively good price on OKC. And if you're just like, Boston's beating the Cleveland, I'm not buying it. Whichever side you don't believe in, you can bet the other side and still be in a pretty good spot to hedge that. You'd have to miss out really on on all the sides in order for you to be able to lose out on that bet. And it just gives you a good position to bet into later as you see these matchups evolve and you see what the board looks like. So I'm with you on the Grizzlies. I'm kind of freaking out right now because power rating wise, some things changed over the last 2 weeks. And this is what I actually like about having a power rating that is entirely data driven. Like, I make some manual adjustments for injuries, but I'm trying not to like pull on the scales. It keeps popping out Denver as the second best team.
Ooh.
And I'm like, I cover the team. So it's like, oh, but you're a homer. And I'm like, no. I'm telling you, I'm not putting anything into this system. And I don't think that they're that good. I don't even think that they're good, period. Like, I think this team's broken in a lot of ways. But then you look at the overall resume here, Bryan, and it's like, look, Denver is 5th in offense, 14th in defense. Look at their strength of schedule. They have the 8th toughest strength of schedule with the 8th toughest offensive strength of schedule and 8th toughest defensive strength of schedule. And they're still 5th on offense, 14th on defense, and 9th in net rating at 14-10 with 2 of the losses when Joker was out. And I have maintained this with Denver. If we get to a Western Conference and you look at the bracket, and I go up and down, and we remove all of the matchups and the X and O's and the schemes and the pick and roll defense and the points in the paint and all of this. If we just make it, and I say, you get X star and X coach, and I get Nikola Jokic and Michael Malone. How many do you want? Do you want Shea and Mark Dagnall, or do you want Jokic and Malone? I want Jokic and Malone.
Me too.
Do you want Anthony Edwards and Chris Finch, or do you want Jokic and Malone, even after Finch and Ant beat him last year? With this team, with Julius Randle, I want Jokic and Malone. Do you want Mike Budenholzer and Kevin Durant? That's a pretty good fucking combination.
Yeah, but
I'll take Jokic and Malone. The only team that I would say is probably like, yeah, we're good, is Dallas. That's it.
Yes. Yep, that's the one.
That's the only one. Even Golden State, I'd be like, with Kerr and Steph Curry, with 4 titles, I would still be like, nope, I'll take Joker and Malone.
It's 2025. Yeah, I agree.
Like
Right.
you go up and down the roster in the Western Conference, and it's like, nope, don't want that team instead of that combo. And if you're just like, well, yeah, but I don't actually care about Malone. It's about Joker. I will maintain Malone has lost one series when he was the favorite. He was a tiny favorite versus the Blazers in the Nuggets' first playoff run. Since then, he has never lost a series where he was a favorite. And he's won a title and consistently overperformed. So I don't want to bet Denver right now.
Yeah.
But if you ask me to make the case and you tell me that they're plus 650, I can't say it's not value.
You could say people could be calling you a homer. I also think sometimes there's an opposite effect where you watch a team too much and you're like, oh, yeah, these guys, you know what I mean?
These fucking guys. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah. We've all had our experiences with this. And to me, with Denver, they're scary, both to be pro Nuggets and anti Nuggets. And to me, the front office point that I make, do you feel like it applies to them? Like, there are rumors right now that we've seen out there, like Michael Porter Jr. and potentially Zach LaVine, which that's probably its own conversation. I'm not even sure, I would do that. But do you feel like this is a front office, despite what you know, that this is a front office that's like, yeah, they'll be aggressive. They'll definitely try to do something big. So maybe they're worth backing at plus 800 right now. Third best odds in the Western Conference, by the way.
It's not really about that. It's about the fact that they are extremely limited. So the options are basically this.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Porter Jr., in which case you're just swapping out one set of problems for another.
Agreed. Yep.
I think Zach LaVine is stellar. I think he is a much better player than Michael Porter Jr. He is electric when he's on. And I think that he would fit very well next to Joker. I think that it would be a very fun watch. But it's like, MPJ is bad defensively. LaVine's bad defensively. MPJ can't do anything with the ball, but LaVine needs the ball a lot in an offense where he's not going to get it as much. At least on the defensive end, you get MPJ's rebounding. You lose that entirely, but you do add shot creation, which is something they need. The bench might get a little bit better, but bear in mind that the Nuggets starting unit is actually better than it has been in previous seasons. That's what's really weird is Jamal Murray has sucked, and they're like a plus 16 with the starters.
Isn't Zach LaVine too similar to Jamal Murray?
He's too similar to Jamal Murray from 2 years ago.
The good Jamal Murray.
And that's but that has its own set of problems.
Something tells me you think they should go shopping with Jamal Murray.
But they can't because they signed the extension. He can't be traded.
Right. That's right.
So they can't. You're not moving Joker. You can't move him. Aaron Gordon has a trade kicker. Can't move him. Just sign the extension.
They probably wouldn't anyway.
Peyton Watson and Christian Brown. Christian Brown is not only a favorite of the front office, he's a favorite of ownership. Ownership loves Christian Brown, so he's not getting moved.
He's getting an extension after this season, probably.
So now you're talking about assets. It's Peyton Watson, Julian Strother. What is that getting on the market? They've traded all their second rounders. They had to dump all their second rounders to move Reggie Jackson. They don't even have the fluff to throw into a trade to make it look better. So it really is just MPJ. Now, there is a deal, and I want to be very clear. I have thrown this at the Nuggets wall, and it is a black mass of goo that just absorbs it like venom, and it disappears. They have not given me any feedback on this, but I've thrown this idea out because I think it's that good of a, and I never make suggestions to front office people because they're way smarter than me.
I hope this is what I'm thinking.
It's not. I trust. Believe me, it's not.
Okay.
It's Michael Porter Jr. to Atlanta for DeAndre Hunter, Onyeka Okongwu, and filler. If they'll throw in Bogdanovich, they get Peyton Watson or Julian Strother or whatever they want.
Sure.
And anything left they can have if they throw in Bogdanovich. I don't think they will. But that solves with Jalen Johnson becoming the man in Atlanta. You don't need Okongwu anymore. And that allows you to move off. They tried kind of looking at Okongwu as a small ball 5 option last year. Didn't go great. And so now you get to move off of DeAndre Hunter and Okongwu, and the Nuggets get multiple components for them to be able to slide in. That to me,
selling high on DeAndre Hunter, by the way.
Yeah, That to me makes like because that's what the Nuggets need. They don't need Zach LaVine. They need to turn Michael Porter Jr. into 3 different components that all can do some of the stuff that he does. Anyway, to sum up this conversation,
right?
I'm not gonna bet. You're not gonna see me tracking Nuggets in the app at plus 650. But I do, but I do think that they're probably pretty dangerous, and probably this is their price is a little long. On this subject, I do have a note for people since we did the podcast on Sunday with Jim and Joe. I need to make this announcement. If you're listening to this, I think the straw poll is probably coming out by the time you hear this. If you're listening to this overnight on Friday because you're getting up early for work, by the way, God bless you. Viva the early shift. I've done that before. But if you have been like, maybe I want to bet, I just think Jokic is going to win again. You better bet him now because the straw poll is going to come out and then he's going to get blasted into oblivion.
Mm.
Like the market moves on that straw poll. I would be very shocked if he doesn't drop into a minus number after that. And I will just tell you, like, we will start firing on other guys when that market move happens. Like, I wanted to bet Luka, but unfortunately he's missed 7 games now. So now I'm getting terrified he's not going to play enough games.
Yeah, that one's a little worrisome. I want to just last thing on this make believe, but probably should happen. Nuggets Hawks trade that you have concocted. 2 important things happen here that are not like, I guess, super important to people who are just casual fans, but Bogdan Bogdanović, Nikola Jokic, if it's Bogdanović, let's say, fellow Serbian.
Yep.
I think that's something that's worth noting because those are probably the best 2 Serbian players in the world right now, and saw them play together in the Olympics on the world stage. Bogdan Bogdanović is also on a team-friendly contract, 17.2, 16, and then an option for 16 that is a team option 2 years from now. And then Michael Porter Jr. and Trae Young, I mean, played together in high school in the AAU circuit. Like, just whole, like, reuniting things here. And Okongwu, like, he has an extension to, like, 14, 15, 16, and then 16.8. But, like, it has felt for a while, it's like, all right, if Atlanta, now that you have Jalen Johnson, it makes this maybe difficult is not the wrong word, maybe easier, but, like, Clint Capella's expiring, and we know, like, he's not going to stay there, or at least he shouldn't. Like, are you going to move Okongwu? Are you going to move him into a starting role? Like, it's kind of confusing, like, what they're going to do with him. And he has an extension now, but I would love that. More for Denver than Atlanta. I'd be curious as to what Atlanta would want there. But I mean,
the Ricochet thing is like kind of the complication here, right? That if it's like, all right, if Jalen's going to play the 4, you still want Ricochet at the 3, then where does Michael Porter Jr. play? You can't play him at small ball 5.
No.
Right? Why are you taking him on this contract with that money left with his medical history? And that's why the Chicago thing has been rumored, and it's one of the reasons why that's so easy. Arturas Karnisovas is the Bulls GM. He is the former assistant general manager of the Nuggets. So he's seen Mike's medicals, and he's comfortable with them. So that's a big differential here, because that's one of the complications here is any team that gets Mike's medicals is going to be pretty... Let me put it this way. I haven't seen him, right? The Nuggets feel completely confident that he's going to be able to play for a long time. And Mike's worked really hard to be available. Like, Mike played 80 games last year. Like, he's really like that. He's really proud of that. Like, he's really proud because he loves to play. But Mike's had 3 back surgeries. That's always going to be terrifying. Like, it just is. It's just going to be really scary for anybody that takes it on. So, like, their best asset is a guy with 3 back surgeries on a massive contract. That's where the Nuggets are.
And people should remember, like, Michael Porter Jr. heading into that draft would have been one of the top picks if not for the concerns about his back injuries. Like, it just was what it was. He fell to 14. Yeah, so he was in the back part of the lottery. It was 2018 draft. First pick that year was DeAndre Ayton. But Michael Porter Jr., for people who don't remember, because I was covering more high school at the time, he was one of the best high school players in the country. Probably the best high school player in the country in his class at that point.
All right, let's do some best bets for the Friday slate. Bryan Fonseca doesn't have anything because props are not up as we record this. The slate
we did all that talking, man. There's still no props.
Still no props. The slate is brutal. So here's what we have for you. Sixers -10, total 221.5 versus the Hornets on a back-to-back. So you have the Hornets on a back-to-back versus the Philadelphia 76ers, and I will just tell you guys, I won't be playing another Sixers line for the rest of the year. Not side, not total, not props. Like, no, and like Brian's laughing, but like it's just a pragmatic decision on my part because there is literally no way for you to know. Embiid suddenly played when he was supposed to not.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been out when he was supposed to play. And then you got PG. And there's no way for me to, how am I supposed to power rate this team? How am I supposed to have any sort of inclination of what the spread, like for me to bet into a game, I need to have an idea of what I think the spread should be. I have no idea on any Sixers game. So immediately all of these bets are off the board. Just like, nope, I'll pass. Thanks. Bucks Cavaliers is the most stable one on the board. The Bucks coming off of their thrilling, awesome NBA Cup win. Giannis Cup MVP at 70-1. Gave it out in buckets. Don't talk about the Steph Curry or Anthony Davis or Victor Wembanyama or Luka Doncic bets I put in. But 17-1. Total in that game is 225.5. I have this one on the dot. I have it exactly at 8. I have it 7.9 is what I project this game at on power rating. There's no major injuries. There's no like shifting kind of elements. There's nothing. Total, I have it at 226.3, right on the dot. So this is, to me, is such a sharp line. I can't get on either side of it. And then finally, you have the Oklahoma City Thunder on a back-to-back, traveling from Vegas to Orlando to Miami. They played in Orlando at like 7 Eastern, got done by 9:30, probably flew into Miami by midnight. About now is when they're getting in. Not a lot of time to go out. Maybe not. Maybe they're just not wired that way because this team takes itself very seriously. But they are 2-point favorites versus the Miami Heat. Totals 215.5. I do have a bet on this game. So that'll be the best bet for the night. It's going to be under 215.5 on Miami. I make this 211. Miami's offense, even with Tyler Hero being and just inferno, and we saw kind of maybe the start of some regression with the Pistons game. Even with that, like Miami's offense is not going to be good enough to score on OKC's extremely good defense, and OKC on tired legs won't be able to score enough on offense. I'll take the under 215.5 in this one, Brian.
I'd probably be with you here because I'm not sure to what degree Miami's going to score, even though OKC is on a back-to-back. It's just good. It feels like the defensive-minded game. OKC's played a lot of unders this year. I believe just hit another one with the Orlando Magic, which is not a surprise. Tyler Hero under in points is something that I'd be interested in, depending on where it's at. I assume his points prop is going to be 23.5 or something along those lines, maybe even 24.5. But Oklahoma City is well aware of the tear that he's been on this year, where it looks like he may actually land his first All-Star appearance. But Oklahoma City has some solutions for that. And I feel like they're just going to make him work really, really hard for these shots. The efficiency for Tyler Hero is off the charts, and the shot diet is what's been most impressive because he's cut out a lot of the mid-range jumpers. So it's a lot of threes. He's actually getting to the rim. Like basically everything that I've gotten on him for his game, like he's actually adjusted. So I've been able to just shut up this year and watch him play. That being said, there's a larger Tyler Hero discussion that we could have another day. But as it pertains to this game, like that's something that I may look at closely, because this game feels like an under, and it feels like Miami. We should probably mention Jimmy Butler just had one of his absolute best games in the regular season, ever, that he's had in his career statistically, like in terms of the advanced numbers, game score, things of that nature against the Pistons. He had a ridiculous outing, and they still lost. But I don't know if that signals, hey, he's going to start doing this all the time. I don't think it's that, but it's something to watch for because he can still have like these big games. I'm just not sure it's going to be one for him either. So maybe this is an under spot for him too. He had 35 points, 19 rebounds, which is a career high, and 10 assists. So he had a crazy triple-double against the Pistons, 44 minutes. They still lost. And I think OKC could make this very tough for them, and also OKC, like I feel like they're gonna be pretty pissed off about the discourse about them. Like they could act like they don't hear it, but they're gonna be pretty pissed off about the discourse about them coming from the NBA Cup. So I actually think they could potentially break off on a little winning streak here.
What are your prop leans for Friday?
I'm kind of we should probably talk about Cavs Bucks a little bit more, but like, do you think there's going to be some NBA Cup hangover? Because I was thinking about Cavs first half, which would probably be in that 4.5 range.
So there's a story on this.
Mm-hmm.
Doc talked to Darvin, who's on the staff, and Darvin told him the Lakers celebrated too much last year.
Saw that.
They went out and got wild and had a really good time and blew off steam, which I think that you should when you win a cup and win $500,000 and you're in Vegas.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
But they chose not to. Like, they kept it down to, like, they want to win a championship and they're not going to let stuff like. So I think that it's not going to sneak up on them. Like, if the Thunder had won, I would have been all over Orlando tonight. First half. All over them. But the Bucks seem like a more mature team. And, like, the Thunder are pretty mature for their age, but that's the point, is, like, for their age. The Bucks are as mature as their age because they're old. And so with that, I'm not worried about the hangover much. I think, yeah, they probably put the gear down. That was Tuesday. You got all day Wednesday off, all day Thursday off, play Friday. You're on the road, but, like, even if they got into Cleveland on Thursday today, it's still like another day to rest. If it was tonight, but I'll put it this way: this is a wait and see. If the Bucks get killed in this game, then next year we're absolutely fading whoever wins the cup next year. But for this one, I'm not going to play that angle on this one.
Part of it is also Cleveland is Cleveland, and to me, they're still second best in the Eastern Conference right now. So I also think, like, we don't have a ton of precedence for, because the NBA Cup is new, the other team who's super rested and how they're going to be coming into this matchup. It's like for Cleveland, if you look up, how many games did they have this season on, 4+ days off? Like, you're gonna find almost no sample. It's 1-1/8 against the spread. You can't do anything with that. And they're home, so there's that too. So I do wonder about that. I'm probably also going to look at Evan Mobley. I want to see what the rebounds, assists are. Evan Mobley, just in general, has been really, really fun to watch this year. Not every game has been great, and hopefully he's not going to be back on the injury report, because that's something that popped up not that long ago. But he's been, like, Cleveland's just been awesome to watch, and it looks like they're going to get Max Strus back really soon. Which is not insignificant. So
I like the matchup for Cleveland. I will say I found some interesting stuff. So Doc, I want to just give Doc Rivers a lot of credit here. Their lineups they were rolling out were getting slaughtered. And what happens with fans is, if a lineup's getting killed and a guy's playing badly in it, they circle that guy and be like, he should not play. Bench him. Don't play him. And that's just not really how this works when these guys are guaranteed money. Like, they're going to play. You have to find ways to use them. You can either excise the person entirely from the rotation, which happens from time to time, or you can change things to try and find solutions that work. And moving AJ Green into more minutes with the starters, and moving Gary Trent Jr. into more minutes with the bench, and shifting what they have around has fundamentally changed things to where now the Bobby Portis, Damian Lillard minutes are no longer an inferno of sewage. Like, it's actually been good over the last month or so. The first month, that was what was murdering him, is anytime that Dame was on the floor with Bobby, they died, which is why every Bucks fan was screaming bloody murder to trade Bobby, and they might get back there. But it's been fine over the last month since they've been playing better. And that really does negate some of the Cavs' advantage in terms of the bench minutes, because I think they have one of the best benches in the NBA with Ty Jerome, my guy Dean Wade, who I always talk about, etc. Mm-hmm. But I'm also looking at this and I'm like, the Cavs have the athletes to hang with Giannis. They have the shooting to keep pace with the Bucks. They won't get killed on the glass. They're good in pick and roll. Like, the formula and the overall quality of team here says that I like Cleveland. It's just not like, if this number was 6, I'd be all over it. But at 8, I have no interest.
Max Strus is questionable. We haven't seen him yet. I'm sure if he plays, it'll be a limited capacity. But, I mean, he started for them last year. We'll see what his role is going to be. This also comes as Isaac Okoro looks like he's going to be out for a little bit with the shoulder injury. So, in totality, though, I'm likely with you on the Heat Thunder under, because that just feels like a game that's going to be in the mud for at least a good portion of it. Otherwise, follow me on the Action app, because I will have props there. Because right now, as we're recording this, the slate is not doing us any favors.
All right, so the best bet on tonight's going to be the under in Miami Thunder, under 215.5. If this hits, if you wake up on Friday and this is 213.5, that's my threshold. Don't bet it at 213.5. I'm okay at 214. Don't play for a full unit there. I'm okay at 214.5. I like anything above 214.5, and it's worth a full unit play for me. That's going to do it for Buckets. My thanks to David Payne, our producer. My thanks to Bryan Fonseca MY, for hanging out with me on the Friday mixtape. We will be back Sunday night. We're recording for Monday. We will do Future Jays with Joe Dolera and Jim Turvey. We'll talk about the impact from the straw poll. On Tuesday, we're going to have, there's no games that night for Christmas Eve. We will have your Christmas spectacular with bets from every single contributor on Buckets. Everybody will be on, and we will get you the best bets from all the guys. I'm even going to try and drag Brandon Anderson on. We will have a best bets episode for you on Tuesday for the Christmas slate. So make sure to tune in for that. Hope you guys have a great weekend. If your family's coming into town, bottoms up, and we'll see you guys again next week. Thanks for joining us. Till next time, let's get buckets.